welcome to PHTV4. I'm Sue Jankowski, and we are back, as we are every month, with the Travel Show. A very exciting show. We got some great stuff for you to think about today, and then do it. So we got Kathy James with us. Kathy, thanks
Thank you
for coming in.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me again.
No,
I like
always
it.
a pleasure. Kathy is from Class Act Travel, right there in Worth, Illinois. And we'll give you the address later. And she brought with us today Cheryl Gatto. Cheryl, nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Cheryl's been with us before, so it's really great to have her back. And she comes from Central Holidays. And she's got so much information, I don't even think we have enough time to do it all, but we're going to try. And we're really excited, Cheryl, to learn about the company you work for and the travel opportunities that we have. So I guess, first of all, I guess just a little bit of a description about how long you've been in the travel business.
Oh gosh, I've been in the travel business 40 years this year.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you very much. So it's been a wonderful career, and I've had a lot of diversity in my career, working for different companies, cruise lines, land tour operators, and so forth. And I find that I'm really comfortable in the European customization sphere of travel opportunities. So rather than just working for, say, a motor coach company or just even a cruise line only, I like the idea of customizing a vacation so that it's exactly what the client wants.
Oh, that's really nice too. I think you're going to find out some great things that maybe you're going to want to do coming up. So I don't know where to start. I mean, we were talking about this before the show began, and it's just so much great travel opportunities. I guess you're just going to have to walk us through, Cheryl. What should we be thinking about right now?
Okay, well, right now for 2024, Europe is crazy popular. It was last year in 2023. It continues to be so in 2024. And all projections are saying for next year, 2025 as well. You know, Central Holidays, we've been in business for 52 years. Our strength has been Southern Europe, which means Spain, Portugal, Malta, Croatia, Italy, Sicily, France, you know, those countries along the Mediterranean area. Then we branch off into the Middle East, where we do the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Oman, Egypt, as well as Israel, which unfortunately right now is, you know, off the map, literally, for travel for anybody to go into the country right now. Then we do South Africa, South and Eastern Africa, the southern tip of Africa. And then we also do Central and South America, which is also very popular. And that area, Central and South America, is popular because they're on the same time zone we're on.
Oh, that
Right?
is nice.
I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
That makes it a little bit easier on the traveler, so that they're not having, say, a 5, 7, 8 hour time difference, if that's something that concerns them. But
Never thought about that
it's
before.
around the same time
Yeah,
zone
it
when you
is,
get into
yeah.
Central and South America. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so if you were thinking, oh, I really wanted to go to Italy, you can do it, but you should expect that it's going to be
Yes.
higher price.
Higher
Yes.
price. So right now, Italy is still very popular, has been for the last 40 years, really, all kidding aside, 40 years, and doesn't show any signs of waning anytime soon. However, that being said, I tell everybody, but if you want to do Italy, that's fine, but it's pricier this year than it was last year, just the land portion. So what we do at my company, at Central Holidays, is we do customization. So the travel advisor that we work with, Kathy, would sit down and speak with her customer, Sue, and Sue would say to Kathy, I want to take my family to Greece. And I don't know that we want to do hopping between the islands on a ferry. Is there an easier way to do those kinds of visits to those islands? So we sit down at Central Holidays and pull all of those moving parts together for Kathy to meet what you want, so that she is creating the exact vacation that you and your family want. And that's what makes it so unique. It's very, very special. We do all the work on behalf of the travel advisor, so that we're pulling in, you want to do certain meals, you want to see certain sites, you want to do certain travel things, such as you want maybe a private driver, or maybe you want to incorporate a rail component, or maybe you do want to do a ferry or a short cruise in between the islands in Greece, for example. That's the type of vacation package that Central Holidays puts together in every one of our destinations.
Which is really great, because if you're not somebody who, say for example, you don't appreciate being on the water or something, and that's part of your pre-planned tour, this is nice. You don't have to do what you don't want to do. You're making it exactly what you want.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So typically what we start with is like, what's your destination that you want to go to? How many of you are there? And what's your budget? Right? So you got to have a budget in mind.
Yeah, you do.
Right? Because if you don't, then you're willy-nilly all over the place, right? But so you have to at least have some parameters in which to work within. And so Central Holidays sits down and will work with our travel advisors to sit down and pull all those pieces together, because it's time consuming. And I tell everybody this, that I know people want to do their own vacation arrangements. I know that they want to pretend to be a travel advisor. They're not.
I can do this.
I can do this. Right. I can do a Disney trip on my own. Yes.
No.
Or I can sit down and pull together an Arizona Grand Canyon trip. Well, sure, maybe you can do that. Maybe you can do a beach trip, here domestically. But the minute you start talking international, anywhere, you must use a travel advisor. They are the best asset you will ever have while you are traveling. Because I promise you this, a few months ago, there was a volcano in Iceland that was rumbling, and it blew up. And now it's
it's blowing up some more.
Yeah, the fissures from that volcano are still rumbling, and
lava's
pouring
everywhere.
out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to tell people this, but 12 years ago, one of the volcanoes in Iceland blew up, and it stopped European traffic for 2 weeks.
And not Iceland traffic, European traffic.
Because there was the smoke and the whatnot from the
right.
volcano.
I do remember that.
Yes,
actually.
Yes. And anybody, let's say you're an attorney and you got to be home to get to court, or let's say you're a doctor and you've got a full schedule on your, your surgical schedule or whatever, you're not getting home if you did it yourself. The travel advisor has access to things that the consumer just doesn't have. So other hotel accommodations, other flight arrangements, other flight schedules, airlines, ground transportation, they have access to that the consumer doesn't have. So myself, I'm a consumer, and I tell everybody, you know what? I use a travel agent when I travel internationally. And I don't need to, but I do.
Yeah,
Because it doesn't make sense not to.
No, because they know that one piece that you don't know. And if in an emergency situation, you want to be able to have that rectified for you.
Well, you want to have somebody who has your back.
Yeah, you do.
And has your safety and concern and your business at home, in the forefront of like, let me get you home. We'll find out the best way to get this done.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're in Europe somewhere and you're panicking and
you don't know what to do.
And you don't know who to call or what
Right.
to do.
And
Right.
no
Right.
access to anything that you can look up to find anything. Yeah, no, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
The other thing I just want to mention too, having last year, the extended family and us were looking for just a house on VRBO. And do you know how many hours you spend looking at, and then you forget, no wait, does that house have 3 bedrooms?
Or
4
2 bedrooms or no bedroom?
Do we like that one?
Yeah,
It gets complicated and very timely. For
You just spend
it's
so
nice to have-
long on one situation
Yeah.
that everything else has to wait, and that's not fair to the other people, but you're trying so hard to find exactly. It takes time.
It does.
A lot of
so
research
if you're doing
and
a
time.
big trip
Yeah.
to a place that you're
Yeah.
not familiar with,
It's gonna be
it's
longer.
really great to have
Yeah.
that safety net and that
Absolutely.
person
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
team.
Right.
Okay, so now we want to go somewhere. So and we may or may not go to Italy, depending on how badly we want to go there.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe we check out something else. I was really interested, Cheryl, in some of the places that really are more unfamiliar to me, at least, like Oman, Croatia, some of the, like Egypt, some of the places that I have never gone to or not even thought about, So what about those places? Is that a little bit more like in the wheelhouse of people being affordability and availability?
Yes, yes. So certain destinations outside of Italy and France this year is crazy because of the Olympics. As far as prices go. But I would sit down and say there's lots of other places that you could consider that are more affordable. Portugal being one of them.
But that's getting very popular at this point too, between Portugal and then Spain is right there, so you can
Right.
do both countries at the same time. But
Right.
that's getting to be very, very popular right now.
Very, very popular. Easy to get to. Very easy to get to from Chicago.
Non-stop flight.
Non-stop flight, so that's always a consideration, that everybody wants really a non-stop flight.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you could do that. Egypt is also very popular in light of what's unfortunately happened in Israel. People who have thought, well, I wanted to go and do Israel this year. They are, they've made some alternative arrangements and they've rebooked themselves on an Egyptian package. And most people are doing, what they do is they like to do a land vacation for Egypt, as well as then incorporate a cruise on the Nile. So that can be a longer experience in terms of a longer cruise on the Nile, or it could be a shorter cruise on the Nile, say a 4-day experience on the Nile. So that's something, and it's much more affordable than some of these other destinations. Croatia is very popular. Malta is also very popular. It's a little bit more involved to get to Malta. So what will be the driving price to escalate? That would be airfare to get them into Malta. But those other alternative destinations in that part of the world are very, very reasonably priced. The other part of the world that is very popular is Central and South America. And Ecuador, with the Galapagos, for people looking for soft adventure. They want, maybe expedition kind of an experience, but they don't necessarily want a full expedition experience.
Right.
Soft adventure is what we refer to it as. The Galapagos, very popular with Ecuador and very easy to get to from Chicago, by the way.
Okay. So what do people, besides those things, what would you say the next most popular thing would be? Say if we're going to go to Portugal or Spain, what would we do? I mean, if we don't know anything about those countries, how would we go about finding out about it?
I think that people who pick those destinations already have a propensity for knowing that they want to do some historical sightseeing. They might want to incorporate some faith-based aspects of it. That can be done as well. So, and then culinary is very, very popular. Vineyards and culinary and, the whole gastronomic experience, cooking classes, those kinds of things. So, and of course, Spain has got beautiful beaches, the Costa Brava area in northeastern Spain. So there's some beautiful areas in Spain that Spain comes in. And I know it's popular, and of course, popularity then does what? It drives the price up a bit.
Yes,
but
it does.
it's still nowhere near as expensive as Italy right now. So so it's still a good bargain by comparison, but it's got a lot of features that Italy has as well. Mostly so much of the historic aspect of the countryside. Lots and lots of history there.
Okay, you mentioned doing something with wine or food or whatever. So if I guess because it's a customized trip, you can do anything you want to. But say you want to just kind of hunker down somewhere and kind of learn about that area. What kinds of things would you be doing there?
Well, so each and every one of our packages on our Central Holidays website, you go to the country that you're interested in. And then there's a drop-down menu that gives you different packages that we've put together. Some of them just might be sightseeing. Some of them might be food and wine. Some of them might be, museums. So different aspects of that region that you're going to. And then what we do, because it's not motor coach driven, meaning you're not traveling with 40 or 52 people on a motor coach, right? You have a tour guide that is available to you, right? That's incorporated into your package, and they meet you at the hotel. They meet you when you land, you know, in your destination when you first arrive, right? They get you there because transfers are included. So all of these moving parts of a land package, a land vacation, a customized vacation, are already put together and pulled together for the traveler, right? So that they know, okay, today we're going to do sightseeing. Tomorrow we're just going to have a relaxing day. We don't have to do anything. We're on our own. We just might want to wander around on our own. And people like to do that. Then they're not on such a rigid schedule, you know. And then the next day they might do half and half. It might be part sightseeing with the tour guide, right? Or they might go to the tour guide and say, I'd like to do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, you know. Maybe they've learned about something on their own, or maybe there's a family member that's sitting down saying, you absolutely need to see and do this, you know, so they can make those adjustments, you know, when they work with their tour guide on their trip.
Okay, because I'm thinking that, you know, a lot of people want to hit all the big sites, like, so maybe they want to do that. I want to hit all the historical sites so I can say I've seen them. Other people maybe haven't even been somewhere before, and they think, well, I've done all that.
Right.
And so what else can I do?
Right.
And I think it's really important in travel, and I can't say I've always had the opportunity to just be, you know, just be there and
be there.
walk around and enjoy the food and the people.
Take
and
in the culture.
Yeah,
That's how you learn
exactly.
about that country.
Right.
Is be there and walk through the city, walk and see things, and go in these little pubs and all these little cute little
Cafes and
and
everything.
whatnot, right? And that's what fun
Right.
about that, and that's where you learn.
Right.
Otherwise, you just don't know what's there.
No, and it's exhausting.
Yes.
One of the beauties of like going to Greece, for example, is that, you know, there's obviously all the main islands. Everybody's talked about Athens, of course, you know, but then Santorini, Mykonos, etc. But when you, like if you're in Mykonos, for example, that's the island with the windmills that everybody is familiar with. But when you go to Mykonos and you can sit in one of the little waterfront cafes, and for lunch, dinner, breakfast, doesn't matter, and you just sit.
Yes.
And you watch the people.
And it's great.
And
You
it's
learn
exactly
so
right.
much, and that's where you
Right.
absorb the country and where you can come back and tell people about that country because you experienced sitting there and viewing it.
That's exactly
I think
right.
that's so important. So important
for
on
the,
things.
for the total experience.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. So you can do that. So you can absolutely sit down and just be. You know, you don't have to be on a rigid
have to
schedule.
run here
But
and
that's
there.
why we sit down right at the beginning of the creation of a vacation for you, is to say, what do you want to do? Do you want a very busy schedule? Do you really, what are your must-see, must-dos? Or don't want to do it all?
Yeah, yeah,
Or,
yeah, right,
you know,
yeah.
special needs or
Yeah.
requests that you might have.
Exactly.
We will sit down and incorporate all that into the itinerary that we customize for you.
And who are the tour guides that you have? Are they local people?
Oh, they're local, but yeah, they're all,
And they know secret things about their city, their country that
they're local,
nobody else would know, and you wouldn't know on your own. How would you know about that?
right?
You wouldn't.
We
no.
found out in Mexico, and not to bring Mexico into this, but they have magic cities. I never knew about magic cities, and we were taught that by one of the girls that came here, and she told us about magic cities. We don't know that,
No, right.
and that's important to find out these
Right.
It
things.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is. And really, for the travel advisor, you know, there's so much for them to know with different companies and cruise lines and tour operators and airlines and so forth, that they can't possibly know everything about every destination. It's impossible. But what they do then is work with companies that they can depend on to say, gee, I've never been to Malta. Could you put this together for me? Because I have a client that wants to go and visit Malta, right?
Yeah, which is great. And,
Right.
and then, you got a
That's
connection.
exactly
Well,
right.
and being there for 52 years, we know you're not going to be going out of business next week or next
No,
month
we're
or
quite
something.
established.
Yeah, so you're going to be there for a
exactly.
while.
Yes.
And that's another thing that helps. Because then if you're on this trip and something happens and we can rely on them to help us get you back here.
Yeah, right.
That's
And that's the
exactly.
important thing
And
too.
that hopefully doesn't happen, but, it
But
can.
you got to
So you just
think
want to
about
prepare.
sure.
Think about
Yes.
yourself.
Sure, I think the traveler
Yeah.
these days that travels abroad has to sit down and understand that the world that we live in today is a different world than we lived in 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like working with a professional advisor, also making sure absolutely must have travel insurance. That's not even on the, it has to be on the table, cemented in the table, right? That you have to have travel insurance. Because if you're, Medicare, you go out of the country, you take one step out of the country,
And
you're
you're
no
done.
longer covered by Medicare, it doesn't cover you.
Okay, good
So,
to know.
and trust me,
Yeah.
I was in northern Norway 2 years ago. I was with a group. The gal took one step on black ice in the middle of the morning. It was very, very dark in the morning. She shattered her pelvis.
Oh.
Ended up in the hospital, true story, for 2 months. Couldn't be transferred for 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
So when I tell you travel insurance is imperative, it's not even, it's a non-starter. You have to have it.
Okay. Wow.
I think we got that.
Yeah.
I think we understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood it loud and clear that
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Now, before we started filming today, you mentioned that people can travel to Dubai,
They can.
and that is, I would think, kind of exotic to me.
Mm-hmm.
I
It is.
mean, that seems far away, and what would I do there?
Right.
So,
So Dubai is a trending destination right now. The United Arab Emirates, Kathy, I'm sure you've heard about that as well.
We've already had 2 groups go there.
Yes.
It's just amazing. One went kind of like on an island where they had an all-inclusive, and then another one was more in the city where you had more of the city things to do. It's different.
It's exotic.
Unusual. Yes.
It's exotic. It's. I don't want to say that it's. Well, it's built up so much in the last 20 years.
Unbelievable.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But there's so many different activities to participate
Mm-hmm.
now in Dubai that
Ride a
things
camel.
like hot air ballooning and falconry and all kinds of water sports and
And ride a camel.
ride a camel and I mean trekking through the desert. I mean it's really
It's
there's-
unusual.
It's very again soft adventure, but if you just want to be city center, you can do that as well. The food experience over there has just exploded like crazy with all kinds of culinary experiences with Middle Eastern foods and so forth. So it's become I don't want to really say the Las Vegas of the Middle East, but it has just blossomed like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's a very good value still right
Yes,
now.
it's not that expensive. It really isn't.
so I was just thinking about the traveler who's been there, done that. This would be something that they
Different,
really maybe
yeah.
haven't
Yes.
done. Yeah.
Or the traveler who's been there, done that, maybe consider Ecuador and do the Galapagos.
Yeah, that would be
You know,
amazing.
again, soft adventure.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that far to get to, and it
And it's in the same time zone.
and in the same time zone.
Well, and something like that, you really need a travel advisor because you can't just like pop up in the Galapagos Islands. You have to have a plan.
Yes,
You
yeah.
have to have an appointment.
But, yeah,
You know,
you got to get that all in
you
order.
do. You-
Sure.
Sure,
you
sure,
know,
sure.
It takes some planning ahead to do that.
Right.
Which is something, you want to keep in mind. Like a lot of these adventures you want to do, we keep emphasizing you do lots ahead of time if there's something specific you want to do or a place you want to stay. If there isn't, well, then you want to fly by the seat of your pants. That's fine too.
Right.
That's fun.
Right.
But if you really have your heart set on something, you really need to plan ahead.
You do. We had a travel advisor that called us and had a client that wanted to do Egypt, and they wanted to, it was a couple, and they were celebrating a postponed honeymoon, right? So they wanted to do ride camels in front of the pyramids. But more than that, forget the camels in front of the pyramids, that was fine, but they wanted to be dressed in Bedouin clothing.
Oh,
So,
so many things.
so
Really?
Yes. So there was all these moving parts to the request.
Wow.
Right? And it took us a little time to pull all those moving parts together, but we were able to accommodate. and get it done. So there isn't anything too off the wall or too
That is
unusual
that's
of a
true.
request.
That was
you know,
a
that
strange,
would come across the
strange,
wire, their
yeah.
emails to
Right.
say, this is what my client wants, this is their request, can you do it?
And you go,
Well, just
Yeah.
give us some time.
Yeah.
You know, we can pull it together. It's not something we can do overnight,
Right.
but it will take some time to pull it together
get it
for you,
all the-
and then we do.
Okay.
Right, so something unusual like
Yeah,
that's a
exactly.
good one, right?
Yeah, it's-
That's pretty recent.
yeah.
We just did that.
Oh, wow.
that's unreal.
Yeah.
That is a strange request.
Well, how do you even think of it?
I
don't know.
wouldn't. I would never thought of
My
that.
imagination isn't that,
And, you know, I know
Diverse,
it.
clever.
I know. I know. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, people do ask for unusual.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
requests.
again, I mean, if it's like a once in a lifetime trip,
Mm-hmm.
or you've been doing a lot of trips, then you want these
Right.
kinds of things.
We're finding that the traveler in our area, in the Chicago metro area, has already done a number of escorted tours. They've already been on a number of cruises. They've already done, Disney and so forth. I mean, they're looking for something different. Now they've moved off of,
The beaten path as such.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly right. They're looking for something different because they've already done maybe even multiple trips to Europe. They're looking for, okay, how do I switch this up? How do I make it fresh and more unusual? So that's the kind of thing that Central Holidays can create.
And I think it really does still. I know we talk about this too, but I really do think it has to do with the pandemic. Because although it was, say, 2 years, maybe 3, of restrictions, I think people now begin to think, you know what, now's the time.
Yes,
I got to do
yes,
it now
yeah.
because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Better plan it, do it, go there. And I think that is probably one of the reasons the travel industry is like really booming.
It is. It is. And, post-COVID, the retail travel community obviously suffered during the COVID, timeline of 3 years. But the travel advisors that are there are veterans of so many world experiences, such as 9/11, now with this pandemic that was unprecedented. And they do know how to sit down and take care of the customer. And I can't stress that enough to the traveling public, that if you have plans or you're considering making plans, please use a travel advisor because they are your asset. They've got your back when you travel
So
internationally.
important. So important. Well, Cheryl, before we go today, is there any other advice, words of wisdom that you have for us? You've told us so much great information
Oh, thank you.
at this point.
Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. I think it's just good to keep your mind open, to sit down and say, is this, I have a dream, and here's my dream, and my dream is going to be that I want to do this, 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 and this. Is it possible?
That I can put that together.
Can I pull these pieces
Yeah.
together? Is this even a consideration? And the answer to that is yes, it is. You just have to work with the right advisor, and the advisor has to work with the right travel provider.
Yes. Okay. So you're going to want to do that. Kathy,
Exactly.
so now people should come if they're planning a trip and want to have it be the trip that they want. They can come to you.
Yes, and I
And-
will deal with Cheryl's company, and we will
Make
get
it
it all
happen.
put together.
Yeah.
There's one thing I wanted to mention. There's a thing the government does. It's called STEP, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. This is a free service the government puts out. You have to enroll before you go on whatever trip you're going on. Just enroll in this. It doesn't cost you anything. And they will keep you apprised of what's happening in the world, just so that you know what's going on around the country, around the world, so that you're got it already. In case you have to leave or whatever, you are aware of what's happening in the world.
Oh, that's
And it's free.
It's free.
And it's
And
free.
it was Smart Traveler.
Enrollment program, STEP is how they
Okay.
just put it, the
Well,
STEP
that's
program.
great information to have, especially if you're going to be.
Going, and
out
I
of the
try and tell all my clients when they're going to be going, especially overseas, please enroll in this.
Yeah.
It's just going to be on your phone. They'll just let you know what's happening. It's a smart, and then it even would help you. Heaven forbid somebody loses their passport, it'll help you get home.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's
it-
a
Good
big
to
thing.
know.
that's a
Very
big
good.
thing right there.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
right?
Because that can happen. I'm sorry.
And it does.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
does.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It does.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can we get a hold of
Yeah.
you?
After
Miss
all
Kathy?
that. Okay. I'm at 6946 West 111th Street in Worth, on the corner of 111th and Worth Avenue, next door to the Worth Snack Shop. We are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We will stay later or come in on Saturdays if you need it. The number is 708-448-6560. Come on down and we'll send you somewhere, guys. Thank you.
Make a trip somewhere. She'll get a hold of Cheryl. They'll collaborate.
Hey, we'll do
You'll have a
something.
great trip. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for all
Thank
that
you
great
for having me.
information.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Nice
you.
to have you back.
Everybody.
Thanks for watching us on The Travel Show. We'll be back next month with more great ideas. In the meantime, start planning.
Please.
See you next time.
Plan
Bye-bye.
in advance.
Yes, exactly.